wrote his book, he gave it to his mother via pendulum, which she became very good at using. And then she went through the book and said, is this what you meant to say? Is this what you meant to say? And he corrected it. Then they sent it to me, and it really needed to be edited and worked through. So I did that. Then she went over it again with him and changed a few words. So there are a variety of ways that the people who are not now in bodies can use susceptible people to collaborate with them. And of course, I've discovered very late in life that everything I've ever written is channeled. I try to write on my own. I'd like to be a novelist, for example. I can't. I can only write when my team has decided it's time to write. And now I'm very humble about that. But they don't talk to me. Instead, there are two of them primarily. Thomas does nonfiction and Marvina does fiction, and they just make me feel really smart. I have an idea, and then I start writing, and my fingers are flying, and it's beautiful on the page. I think, I am a genius. I'm going to write whatever I want to write. This is wonderful. I just can't do it unless they've decided to write that particular book. But very little editing is needed for them either. But anyway, so I've come to believe, and I don't know how you feel about this, maybe because of the way it works for me, I've come to believe just about everything people write is actually channeled if it's worth anything. I mean, we talk about our muse, my muse, this is what my muse thought I should write or something. At least maybe we don't say it so much anymore, but when I was younger, boy, we certainly did. I think that's a guide. Those are guides who are really your muse. They're suggesting.
Totally.
Yeah, they're suggesting what to write, and they're helping you write. And it's much more fun to do it when you sort of shrug and say, okay, what do I write next, guys? And then you write what they want you to. It's just a lot better. But now, what did TJ talk about? I mean, I urge you to read the book. You can read about how he died, why he died, how the plan was made, how you make your own plans for life, whether you have free will. He's very big on free will, which we've come to realize actually is true. He says that's a central difference between this and all the other places you might choose to come to evolve. We have much more free will on Earth than anyone else does. That may well be right. We do know the Earth is a unique place for spiritual evolution, and it's a place where life is tougher than it is on any other planet. By the way, the universe teems with life. That won't surprise you. It's just that most of it is cloaked from us because we've become so dangerous. We're not allowed to know it's there. But that's not what he says. That's what I've learned in other places. That's what I love about his book. It fits with everything I know, but then he takes it a little farther. For example, he talks about all the basic levels of energy through the first 12, and it turns out the bottom 2 didn't work out well. They're no longer used. I thought, wow, that's an interesting little tidbit there, JT. Tell us more. Because what he says about the other ones, the other levels of energy, are consistent with what we've heard elsewhere. But again, he always adds this little twist. But what to you was the most interesting thing he revealed about why we're here?
Wow, that's a good question. I was dumbfounded through most of the book. I really was.
Well, I
would have to take breaks. Yes, I mean, these concepts were so foreign to me. I had never heard of this before, and that's how I knew I was really channeling too, right? Because if it's something that you already know, right, then it's easy. But this stuff was really out there as far as I was concerned. I would have to take breaks. He would say something, and I was like, "Oh, whoa! That's a little bit too much for me, dear. Let me take a break." And I would have to go back up. I would have to stop it. I would go meditate or something like that, just to assimilate the information, and then come back, and we would be able to start again. The whole concept of what we're doing here and how we are trying to get to those higher places, to those higher realms. And, the earth is ready to do this. The earth is a living organism. I think that probably was really one of the things that I hadn't thought about before, that the earth, that actual earth, is an energy. And
yes.
that
Everything is energy. Yes, he stresses
yes.
that. It's true.
Yes, and it's an intelligent energy.
Yeah.
And so that being said, here we are. I felt so guilty being on top of this beautiful energy and not really paying that much attention to it. And
Right.
so it really did open my eyes to pay a lot more attention to nature, to everything, and the whole concept of the wild and the trees and how they are when they die, quote unquote, that energy goes back to the earth and then gets rebirthed elsewhere. It's very different than, we think of us leaving, our soul leaving our body and rising, and the concept of the trees and all of that having that energy goes back down and then gets rebirthed. That was very interesting to me.
Yes. The thing is, he does talk about the fact that the sun and the earth, which he says came very relatively late as a place to evolve, our energy. But then he tells us not to be sentimental about it. Accept it, love the earth. But, a lot of people take this as they take everything else to ridiculous extremes. That's not what we're not here to
Yes.
do that. The most important energy there is the mind that you think your body, your brain created, but it didn't. You have a little bit of your extraordinary, vast, eternal mind that you can access when you're in a body. And that's what's important. All of this exists to serve you. And one of the many things I love about the way he talks is he stresses how important each person is. He says at one point, imagine if you're in Starbucks and you realize the person in front of you and the person behind you are your, close relatives or friends. How would you treat them? Well, they really are that. That's how you should be treating them.
Yes.
A number of his insights, although I know they're true, they're fresh, which is one reason that I love his book. I'm going to probably want to talk to you again because there's so much in the book that I want to make sure people understand. But if you're looking for I'm going to add it now to the bibliographies of my fun books when they're reissued. If you're looking for a one-book summary of so much that's important for you to know right now, you couldn't do a better, read a better book, make a better choice than My View from Heaven. One of the many things that's wonderful about his book, the book he wrote with his mom and channeled actually, is that he makes you feel, if you are reading this book, you are an important part of elevating the energy of this planet, which is why most of the people here are actually here now. So he tries to awaken you to the fact that you have a role to play just as important as his mother's. He even says as Jesus' role. Your role is important and precious. What are we doing? Well, this is another thing that I've never heard anyone say, but it's true. He says, imagine that we're all getting into this hot air balloon, and you're part of raising that balloon. You're part of the balloon. You're part of the people in it. You're part of raising that balloon. That is so true. We're raising the spiritual energy of the planet, but he gives you a colorful and beautiful way to think about it and about your role in it. So let's talk a little bit more about the book, Sarina, because I want to go on and talk about the work he has you doing now. But let's talk a little bit more about the book and what he says about where he is now and why it's so hard for us to understand where he is now.
Definitely. Many of us come in and we totally forget where we have come from. We totally forget. I mean, obviously, all of us have contracts, and we've decided that coming onto this planet, we are just going to forget that we are these high beings. We are just going to forget that we are connected to everybody and to the source of who we are. And we come in and then we have these experiences and we have this learning that takes place and learning about relationship and learning about love. But where JT is now is this very high realm, and it's a guiding realm. Many of us have experienced this realm in like meditation and in when we connect to the other side. And there's so many people now who can access this realm. And that's part of his whole mission, is to say, no, you can access this. You can be part of this. And it's not as difficult as we might think. But where he is, is in this guidance place, in this creation place. And he is a creator. He's helped create so many things on the planet and guided so many people. When you read the book, he actually says in the book, like you were saying, Roberta, that, if you're reading this, call on me for help. And people sense that he's there. People I've never met, people who didn't know him when he was here, they know that he's with them and helping them. It's like he is over their shoulder and says, pay attention to this page. Pay attention to this
Isn't
concept.
Yes. Yeah. One thing he says, which is an important insight, is we're trained as children that heaven is up. But he said, in fact, no matter how high his vibration is, he's right in the same place. He says, I'm right next to you. Now, we know that's true. It's just like a spectrum of energy that all exists in the same place. So where you are, JT is right there too. He's just vibrating at a much, much higher level. And another important point, which he doesn't say, but this is why he can be with everybody at once. Most of the most advanced beings that we've ever heard from are actually working as part of a huge group. Thousands of very advanced beings work together. The higher we are in vibration, the more we stop seeing there's a difference between us and someone else. Separation pretty much disappears. So he says, I am with you, and he can say that because your guides are part of him and he is part of them. So many things we think of as true here are simply not true. They're just little conventions for this brief period we spend in this kind of awful school, but he makes it sound so easy to be doing the things he's doing, because in fact it is for him very easy, because he is at that very high level. What do you want people to know most about TJ?
That he is available, that he not only can see, like your guides, he can see what's best for you, but he's a teacher. He is a huge, huge teacher, and he wants to teach us what we need to do to get to the higher vibrations, to get to the higher places. Because like you said, we can be in those places and still be in bodies. And that's what that concept was very foreign to me. Again, a lot of this was, but since he has taught me how to access that higher space, a very, very high space, but still be grounded and still be here. And that's really important, is we just need to be here. We need to experience this. It's not about leaving our bodies and going up to that higher space. It's about being in both places so that we can access the higher information, but still have the earthly experience that we want.
I'm going to ask Sarina to come back with us for another segment, probably in a few months. And what I'm going to want to talk about then almost exclusively is what he has to say about the problems of the planet and how we are to raise the vibration of the planet, because that to me is by far the most important thing he said, because that's really what everybody on Earth who chose to come in now, we all came in knowing that the Earth is in terrible trouble and why it's in trouble and what our part is. And I'd like to have him help you discover what your own particular part is to play. But first, I'd like to talk to Sarina a little bit about what he has got you doing. You're no longer the software guru. Now you are. What is it you're doing now?
Wow, yes, this is definitely something I never thought I would be doing, of course, but things change. But I am now teaching other psychics and mediums how to access the higher space, just like he taught me. I'm also doing Akashic Records readings and training people there as well. And it's really the Akashic Records are just another way to get that information. It's all coming from the same place. It's just another way to get it. And very important, teaching people how to connect to their grief and to their loved ones on the other side, teaching them how to do it, teaching them how to have that connection and communication that I have.
Is that something anybody can do? Literally anyone listening could do that?
Yes, I do believe that we all have that connection, that we've come in with that connection. We just forget about it. We don't know how to access it. There are, of course, blocks and things like that we put in. When I was a kid, I don't think it was safe to see dead people. I probably was a medium all along and just didn't even know it and blocked it. So it did take a little bit to unblock that, and that's the only thing that can stand between us and the connection to the other side, are our blocks.
So is that part of what you do? You help people remove these blocks?
Yes. With JT and his team, I have a team of trainers that